Cinema 9 podcast. I am your host, or one of your hosts, Travis Roy. I'm here with our regular co-host, Eric Brandstrom. Mike Govier, our normal guy that who'll be kicking things off and leading things off here. He had something come up in his life last minute, so we sent him our best. He couldn't make it. That, of course, means that he watched The Other Sister just for fun. Who we have instead?
That's a sentence that no one's ever said. Maybe since that movie came out.
It's the first here at Cinema 9, and the voice you're hearing there is DiCosimo, comedian from the Bill Squire show and from his own life. AJ, thank you for coming on and for choosing The Other Sister.
Thank you for having me. It's funny because we're going to talk about The Other Sister, which has an alternate title. I don't know if you guys know this.
No, I don't.
It's called The Best Movie of 1999.
Oh, yeah, it was a big year too. Okay.
Yeah, that was a big year
for film.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if it holds up. But what we always do on this show is we typically take a movie that we remember as being pretty good and see, does it still hold up? Things were done a little bit differently today, thanks to our guest host, AJ. So,
curveball.
Yeah, we're throwing curveballs today. Yeah, this is interesting. I actually did a podcast 4 days ago. Something similar. It's called Sci-Fi Rewind.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. There's my cat showing me her asshole.
Sure.
And I picked Being John Malkovich for that one, which was also a movie from 1999.
Very different movie.
Very different movie. Very different movie. A lot less of Juliette Lewis stumbling over lines deliberately.
Yeah, it's got to be easier to do a movie like if you fuck up and stumble and shit, it doesn't really matter like that.
Right. And it's just like, no, that's a good take. And we're using it.
Damn, what's Diane Keaton's explanation then?
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
I was about halfway into The Other Sister the other night. We were watching it for this podcast before I realized I was actually watching Something's Gotta Give.
Okay.
And I thought Keanu Reeves was Juliette Lewis the whole time.
That's funny because I was watching And So It Goes, and I thought it was The Other Sister. So
yeah, that's crazy, dude.
But we'll get into The Other Sister more deeply here in a little bit. As always, we'll kick things off with our quarantine viewing picks, which is where we talk about what we've been watching. You know what, guys? Right before the podcast started, I just got in from watching the newest addition to the MCU. I watched Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I had some trepidation going in on this movie because I think as much as I liked Sam Raimi as a kid, and I've said this on the show before that I liked him as a kid, but man, I've just come to just be like, dude, like expand your toolbox. You're doing the exact same shit for 40 years. And the best stuff that Raimi does in recent years, I think, is stuff that is unfamiliar to him, not horror type stuff. And so there's a lot of stuff in this movie that just, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Evil Dead. I remember Army of Darkness. I remember Drag Me to Hell. Like there's just moment after moment where I'm like, yeah, okay, doing the same shtick that you've been doing for
over and over
40
and over
fucking years. So I was a little irritated. And also I was irritated that I avoided I blocked the words Doctor Strange, Multiverse, and Madness on my Twitter feed. I didn't watch a single preview. I shouldn't have known anything about this, but because of just like headlines from scrolling past shit, I knew literally every single actor, like big, surprise reveal. And there wasn't a single one until the very last person in the film.
Wow.
Right? And I knew it all. I was like, this is madness. So I wasn't happy with that.
It's a multiverse of madness.
It's a multimedia event.
No, dude, I actually seek out spoilers.
See, I'm like the dead
I seek
opposite.
them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
This is your time. This is your golden time.
Yeah, dude. I'm not staying off the internet. Like, I'm just not gonna do it. And I know that's gonna like Endgame. I knew everything there was to know. going into Endgame. There was not one thing I didn't know going into Endgame.
Eric, you've always been like that too, like reading scripts a
I'll
solid
fucking
year
read the
before they
script
come
like
out.
3 years before it comes out. It doesn't bother me. I might be like you, AJ, in that like I can just like have it completely spoiled and enjoy the time leading up to it and still have fun in the theater. It makes no
Yeah.
difference.
How many times have you seen a movie before? Like, what's the movie you've watched more than any other movie?
The Other Sister.
Right.
And the other sister.
The Other Sister, dude.
I get it, but that first time is always the most important time. You know, you never get that
No,
moment
dude,
again.
I disagree. I think, the most important time
The
is-
45th.
is you give it some breathing room, and then maybe 5-10 years later you revisit it. That's the most important time, because you could either realize like that's not as good as I remember it, or that's much better than I thought it was.
So you start a podcast and you with your buddies and you discuss it. So for
Right.
everybody here, does it hold up? Does it still matter? I did overall like, it's Doctor Strange. I wish Scott Derrickson had come back to direct it. What can I say?
Yeah. He actually liked one of my tweets.
Derrickson did?
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude. I made a joke. I was like, this is the most intense scene in the history of the MCU. And it's like, it's a scene where Stephen Strange is like putting the mask on his face, and then he's gloving up, and he's like in surgery. And then
you talking about when he live streamed during, he talking about when he live streamed like a live viewing, like during COVID, like when that first started?
No. These were just
okay.
like 4 pictures. This was like a slideshow I put together. It was like, this is the most intense scene in the history of the MCU, and it's Stephen Strange putting the mask on. He's gloving up, and then he like goes in, and then at the last frame, he's just playing Operation. The game Operation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Femur was a tough one. I'll never forget it.
Dude,
Forget.
I know.
I watched Detroit from 2017, Catherine
Okay.
Bigelow. I wish Mike was here to discuss that one. I know it's a film that he would have watched. He's all about Detroit history and stuff, but it was pretty accurate from what I understand, and it highlighted a part of the riots of 1969. I want to say, or what was it, 67? That I, even as a Detroiter, I had never heard of, which is astounding. But so Detroit, definitely worth checking out. Another one I wish Mike was here for, because he's the world's biggest Albert Brooks fan, and I watched Mother. This is like the 4th movie I've watched that's just called Mother. There's like a bunch of them.
So good.
But have you guys seen this movie, Mother, with Debbie Reynolds and Albert Brooks?
No.
It's like this straightforward kind of comedy, whatever, but then it's just like peppered in a bunch of jokes about that Albert Brooks makes about fucking his mother. It's really, really weird. Really
Does Debbie Reynolds get eaten by Satanists?
She's supposed to?
Well,
I didn't know that was a Debbie Reynolds trope.
Oh, you're talking about Mother, yeah. Sorry. At this point, I think of like the Korean movie Mother, which is probably a good thing. I'd like to delete the Jennifer Lawrence version from my memory. This movie came out.
Oh, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, it's horrific.
Oh, I had it erased from my memory.
I'm so
Good for
sorry to have unearthed that garbage for you.
Oh my God, I'm coming up to you're in Detroit, right? I'm gonna come up there. We're gonna fight you in the middle of the street.
I'm so sorry. I won't even fight back. I'll just take
I'm gonna
every
meet you in Royal Oaks.
There's this movie, this documentary that came out in 2020 that I've been wanting to see called Feels Good Man. It's all about Matt Fury, the creator of Pepe the Frog. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
It was great. Did you? So you watched it? I really liked it, man.
Yeah. I felt for the guy, dude. He completely just destroyed his meal ticket.
Well, even more than that, it was like the thing that he had doodled like in his folders as a high schooler and shit. It was like this character that he had just been using in his life for decades. It gets turned into like the new version of the swastika. Yeah, it's insane. But it's a fascinating watch on like how memes work and like the like you thought Bill Waterston had it bad, like the whole connection between like art and copyright infringement and all that stuff. Like there is so much going on in that movie. And then there's like a cultist that's interviewed kind of inexplicably. I don't know what's up with that. Some magician just pops in there. Feels good, man. Other than the magician was definitely good. Worth checking out. Lords of Chaos. We did the movie The Place Between the Pines a while back, and what a huge cast that movie has.
Movie,
Yeah,
and a great
incredible.
movie, yeah. And
that's a great movie.
Dude. It really is. But watching it for the show, we all end up. I think it was the time you were absent, Eric.
Yeah.
But the rest of us were discussing Emery Cohen, who like played Bradley Cooper's kid, and like we were like, this huge cast of this movie, and I really felt like this Cohen kid kept on stealing every role. So I've been meaning to watch this movie, Lords of Chaos, for a while. It was pretty fascinating, dude. It's about the black. Now I don't listen to Norwegian black metal at all, but it's all about the band Mayhem and the story of like their early years, which back when I played in punk bands and stuff in the 90s and early 2000s, I used to hear like urban myths about these guys, like urban legends about like, did you hear they eat like pieces of each other's skull and all kinds of fucked up shit. So it was pretty cool seeing that on film.
Didn't the drummer go to prison?
The bass player, he killed one of them.
Oh,
yeah. There's a murder within the band, and another guy killed himself in a separate incident, and there were some other goings-ons as well. Like, it's just like, it was, I mean, literally, I found this biopic in the horror section.
Let's start a band.
Does it have to be Norwegian death metal? Or Norwegian black metal?
I'm so in. Let's start a Mayhem cover band. We'll call it Chaos.
That's clever. We'll do that. What else did I watch? I finally checked out Dexter New Blood. I am very much in the. See, you're laughing. Like I am very much. I love Dexter, the whole show. I liked the series finale until they added this extra version on. I wasn't in love with New Blood, but I liked it okay. I know it's like Eric's looking around like I'm a crazy person. I liked the end of The Sopranos. I liked the end of Game of Thrones, even not the entire eighth season. I liked who ended up as king. I liked that.
No, I'm sorry. You liked the end of Sopranos?
Oh yeah, even when it happened.
Fucking mind.
When it happened, I was like, perfect. I mean, how else do you end it?
When it happened, I legitimately, when that happened, I hope James Gandolfini dies of a heart attack.
So awful. That wasn't his call.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. I know.
Cursed him, you asshole.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that when it comes to film, like watching film or TV, I tend to be pretty passive. I don't really try to like expect too much or like predict or like get angry. Like I just kind of like let it wash over me most of the time. So I was pretty okay with that.
How do you feel about the whole what do they call it? It's not a reboot. It's a there's this R word for it.
We're already getting to the R word.
We're not. No, the R word. That R word is later. But
please no.
I cannot think of revivals. How do you think about the whole reviving a series, being like, hey, remember how it's supposed to be over? No, we're back. We're gonna try to fix it. Like, has that ever worked?
I felt like. Did you watch it?
No.
Oh, well then given what they actually did, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but there is a pretty major thing that made sense to wait about 10 years to take place.
Okay.
In terms of how the story worked. So they actually did a pretty good job with it. Now, there was things that I didn't agree with or wasn't crazy about, but it was worth seeing. And then other than that, I watched a bunch of crap, not really worth mentioning.
That's a really good question, though. Has the revival of a series ever worked?
Well, dude, AJ, you think of when they brought back the X-Files, at first I was like, oh yeah, fucking let's bring it. We're doing Monster of the Week. We're back to the old school X-Files. Yeah, they completely just tossed away the entire mythology of all like 13 seasons. We're like, yeah, this didn't happen.
I've got one.
Fucking bullshit.
Family Guy. When Family Guy came back after it made all those sales on DVD and they brought it back for like the third or fourth season, there was a few seasons there, at least in my early 20s, that I liked it then, but that's the only one I can think of. Because I mean, Arrested Development, remember how disappointing that was?
Yeah, that fourth season, and that's like my favorite show.
And then they just
the first 3 seasons are like the greatest 3-season run in the history of television. I want to see a gritty Happy Days reboot.
Okay.
I think Henry Winkler's ready for that. I've been watching Barry too.
I'm ready for it.
No, dude, I want a heroin-addled Fonzie.
Yes.
I want I want it to be like Rumblefish.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like sort of like a greaser, and Richie is kind of getting like tempted, and like Arthur Fonzarelli gets taken in by the Cunninghams, but he keeps like relapsing. And then he fucks Joni.
Oh
This
man,
song
you're
is
on
He's just like,
amazing.
you're 23 and you're fucking my 14-year-old.
Yeah.
You're
Sounds
on, this is like
amazing.
the Fresh Prince reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They should
dude.
do
Dark,
they should
gritty.
get Giovanni Ribisi to do a My Two Dads reboot and have him be one of the
Yes.
two dads. He
I
knocked out
want
the
Giovanni
daughter.
Ribisi
Bring
to
it.
do another sister reboot.
Dude, let's get Giovanni Ribisi as Potsy's son, addicted to heroin, in this Happy Days revival. It'd be amazing.
Dude, if you were gonna recast Happy Days,
Yeah, bring it.
let's recast Happy Days.
Let's do Donald Gleason as Richie Cunningham right
Dude,
off the bat.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Or Bryce Dallas Howard. as Richie.
Either or.
That would
They're
be
interchangeable.
Either or. Yeah, that would be a good one. I want Jeff Garland to be Howard,
Okay.
Richie's
Okay.
dad.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Who plays Steve on Stranger Things with Joe Keery? I feel like he should
something like
probably
that.
be the Fonz if we're
Do
going
the
to have
Fonz,
someone
yeah,
play
sure,
the
why not?
Fonz.
He'd be a good Fonz.
He'd be a good Fonz.
James Marston's a little old.
Yeah, he's a little long in the tooth. He could
Yeah,
be
he's a little old to
the
be
dad.
Fonz. James Marston could theoretically play Richie's brother that just disappears.
I'll talk to my people about that.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, we're
Eric,
gonna
what have you
make it
been watching back to quarantine?
Oh,
doing
dude,
this?
you're all
Yeah,
wrapped
I'm-
up. You watched a bunch of crap. Now
I
we're
watched, watched Adam's Rib. That was pretty good. 1949.
Yeah, I like Adam's.
Oh, that's a
Rib.
great movie.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good old
that'd
Spence.
probably be the last. And then I watched some stuff that's just not really worth mentioning.
I caught up on my Charles Bronson and watched Cold Sweat on Tubi. I never heard of it. It's like a classic Bronson revenge picture. Like it's barely the quality of the video is like it's barely even like you can barely even see what's going on. It's not been remastered. I'd never heard of the film before. I gave it a shot. It was fucking awesome. I loved it. So if you're into Bronson and you haven't seen Cold Sweat, watch it because it's really fucking good. Reminded me a lot of Death Proof and what's that movie? Dirty Larry, Crazy Mary, that crazy ass road car picture in the 70s with Peter Fonda. It was fucking really cool thriller, man. And then I went back. I did a deep dive. I literally watched Alien and Predator like one after another on like
Nice.
FX Plus or whatever. Like because I was at my dad's house and like TV was on. We were fucking sitting around eating cake, watching TV.
Sure.
I haven't seen Alien in like 30 years. I'm not even sure I've actually seen it in its entirety. I mean, what else can be said? This is like that one time I had to mention I'd never seen Die Hard like last year. I was blown away. I mean, what can I say?
Die Hard?
He never saw
Not until
Die
like
Hard
last,
year.
not until like last
Wow.
year.
You're saying
Yep.
we just
What'd you
talked.
think of it? What'd you think
Loved
of it? when
it.
you first
Best
saw it?
action movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's a
But,
great action movie. I don't think it's the best action movie. I think up until Mad Max Fury Road, I think that was the.
Yeah, that's what
I
they're
think Mad
saying,
Max
man.
Fury Road is the best action movie ever
In
made.
terms of sci-fi thrillers, though, I mean, Alien it was my jaw was on the floor. Like it was.
Great.
What can you say?
It holds
And
up
it really-
incredibly well. I mean, it's like a near
And
perfect.
Aliens is good.
Aliens. I always liked Aliens more as a kid, so I saw that one more, and so I hadn't watched Alien until like last year. I revisited for the first time in a long time,
Really?
and man, it really is just an incredibly good movie.
Yeah, man. It's so 80s. Predator, nothing else can be said. It's fucking fantastic.
Perfect.
I checked in with Indian in the Cupboard, Frank Oz's like 1995 movie based on the classic book.
Yeah.
Awful, fucking awful.
Is it
Like,
bad?
so schmaltzy, sugary. I don't
where
know
did
how
you see
Frank
that?
Oz directed this. I watched it on fucking Netflix. I'm like, I feel like a family film. And I turned it on. It was abominable, man. I don't have any clue how Frank Oz directed this. It's like directed by committee, classic, trying to ape off the Spielberg magic trash. We got David Keith, our old buddy. Not Keith David this time. This time it is David Keith.
David Keith is not our old buddy. He's just some guy. Keith David is our old buddy.
Keith David is our old buddy. David Keith, just the what do you call it? Palindromic version of him or whatever. But terrible, not good at all. Such an endearing classic novel turned into this paint by number trash. Hated it.
He's
I
got.
had never seen.
Don't hold back.
Yeah, dude, Indian in the Cupboard, not good. Okay, I had never seen Dangerous Minds. So I was watching Dangerous Minds, and this is, what is this, 95? Like, this was huge. Remember the Coolio video?
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I never saw it. I
Right,
finally
right.
checked it out.
Little late.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't even know this was based on a true story from Luann Johnson's memoir, My Posse Don't Do Homework. That's the name of the book.
Did Michelle Pfeiffer score an Oscar nomination for that?
I don't remember.
I know Coolio did.
This sounds Golden Globe-y to me. I don't think there was an Oscar nom. And yeah, I don't know when the last time you saw it is, but like it is a very odd movie. It's just very clumsily written. Like all of a sudden, I know her. She's like, "Yeah, I quit." At the end, after she's done all this good thing, she's like, "Yeah, I quit." And the kids are like trying to convince her. She's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of over this." Very odd movie,
and very much one of those movies. It's like one of those movies that was so big, and then no one talks about again, like ever.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, not to jump in on your
please
moment, but
please do.
Before Doctor Strange, there was a preview for the new Avatar movie, which
Sure.
I know it's one of the best. Like one of the most profitable movies of all time. So I get why they're making a new one, but at this point, like who's asking for this? I'm watching these big fucking blue bozos goof around on screen. I'm laughing at this preview.
Yeah. Ferngully.
No one talks about a Avatar anymore. What's that?
It's Ferngully. He's right.
It is Ferngully.
Yes,
it's Ferngully.
Ferngully. Ferngully meets.
I have no clue.
They're like, we're gonna fuck with our hair.
Ferngully, but they're big and blue.
Right. Yes, and we tame beasts. Yep, we penetrate beasts and tame them with our hair.
Yeah.
Very odd.
Hair.
What else did you watch, Eric?
Okay, so get this. I'm scrolling through Amazon Prime, and I see this movie, Molly, starring Elizabeth Shue. I hit play immediately because I love Elizabeth Shue, and I'd never heard of this movie before from 1999. It's literally, I shit you not, a movie about a mentally disabled woman who gets taken care of by her brother, played by Aaron Eckhart. So it's like, total coincidence. I hit play. I can't tell you the exact time where I had to turn it off, but it had to have been about 18 to 20 minutes in. It was, oh my God. It's everything you fear from a movie about mentally disabled people, dude. It's like, I call it the Encino Man effect. Where like, and I'm a huge Encino Man fan, but like in Encino Man, you have a fish out of water, and it's funny every time like something happens that he's not used to. But when they do this with these movies about these mentally disabled, everything's a fucking joke, and it's so cute, and it's this it's like this to like the up to 11.
So
and
what
it was so offensive.
What we feared the other sister would be going, and we'll discuss whether or not it was, but that's certainly what I feared.
With this movie Molly, it was just so cranked up. It was like fucking Encino Man, but with somebody who's mentally challenged. Horrible. But other than that, man, it's just been more of the fucking Johnny Depp defamation trial. 8 hours a day, every day.
This is what you do for 8 hours a day?
Every day I watch every second of testimony.
Are you not at work right now?
I work, and then I go home and turn on the trial.
And you stay up for 8 hours.
Yeah, I put my baby to bed. I'm like, yeah, you're fine. You just had a bottle. Then I stay up for 8 hours watching every second of testimony.
Wow, dude.
Can't get enough. I nailed it. Last week I couldn't put my finger on it, but I finally have. It's like a really good miniseries. It's like a miniseries that is very involving but real, and it's media and entertainment that I'm not used to ever seeing.
So going into you started watching the trial.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that situation?
I'm neutral on it. This seems like a very childish thing where both parties have some responsibility here.
Okay.
So I didn't have a horse in the race.
But now that you've been watching it 8 hours a day, for
yes.
What's going on? Like, where do you stand on it?
I'm still saying I'm of the opinion that until I hear every witness side and everybody on the stand, I'm going to just stay neutral and hear them out. I think when you jump to an opinion too fast, you're in danger of being biased. Even as the huge Johnny Depp fan I am, I want to stay neutral and hear everybody out because there's always two sides to every story. But yeah, Amber Heard's not putting on a very good defense. That's all I'll say.
That's what I'm hearing.
No tears. She spent 8 hours on the stand with a sob story. Not one single tear. Not once did she pick up that Kleenex.
Well, if she can't, sob in front of strangers on television, then clearly she must be.
She can certainly pretend to sob, but this is like the
disingenuous sobbing would somehow be better. Come on.
Wow.
If she's fake cry, get caught fake crying on in your trial. That's not going to go over well.
No.
Yeah. It's awful. It's awful.
Jeez.
But yeah, man. So AJ, why don't you, before you tell us what you've been watching, why don't you tell us a little bit about like your history with movies and like kind of what you grew up on, so we can get a feel of like what type of film you're into, man.
Well, it's so weird, man. Like, you know, when I was a kid, and I brought it up a little earlier, but I'm gonna revisit that. So, you know, when I was a kid, it was the typical, like, you know, I was into, you know, Toy Story, Bugs Life, you know, those early Pixar. I'm 33 years old. So, you know, when I was a kid, the first movie I ever went and saw in the theater was Aladdin. And I remember that like blew my mind. I didn't even know, like before that, I didn't even know that you went and saw movies at a theater. I just thought you went to Blockbuster and got movies and you watched them on TV. I didn't even know movie theaters existed. And it completely blew my mind. It busted my head open. I was like so in. And then, you know, obviously I started getting into, you know, just movies. I liked the Santa Claus starring with Tim Allen a lot when I was a kid. I watched that movie all year round. I thought like Santa Claus was so badass. I thought like Santa Claus was a badass. Tim Allen made him a badass. And then 1999 comes around.
The other sister.
No. And this is where I said I brought it up. I saw Being John Malkovich for the first time.
Yeah.
It was like on Stars. I was at my grandmother's house and everybody was asleep. And like in 1999, I'm 10 years old. So like a 10-year-old seeing that movie, I'm like, what? And I'm not gonna, like doing that podcast the other day kind of woke up a lot of things that I think I understand the reason why I am the way I am. Charlie Kaufman has had a profound influence on me and how I think.
That's wonderful.
And my sense of humor is kind of the same. It's kind of very absurd. And then, you know, I kind of became a writer and a comedian. And I think Charlie Kaufman was like a huge influence. I think I learned how to tell jokes from those in a Kaufman-esque style.
When did you start doing getting into comedy?
Okay, so I went to vocational school when I was in high school, and I wanted to do radio.
Were there street toughs outside the vocational school that were harassing you, like in this movie?
With a switchblade?
No. But I carried pepper spray.
Oh, okay, good. Check.
To keep them from sexually assaulting me in front of the school.
You don't want them to coitus you. Don't want that.
Yeah.
No, hell no.
Coitus me, dude. So, and I wanted to be in radio.
Right.
I saw Private Parts at some point.
Okay, sure.
That just seems like the most fun fucking job in the world. So I wanted to go and I wanted to learn about radio. And then I kind of fell in love with writing there. And there was this kid there. His name was Neil, and nobody liked him. It was so unfunny. It was ridiculous. But we had a project where we had to edit a video that we took, and his video was of him doing stand-up at like an amateur night at the Improv.
Oh, cool.
And I'm just like, dude, like I'm much funnier than you. So I did stand-up like for the first time. And then I'm like, I got such a good reaction the first time I did it that I'm just like, oh, maybe I'm going to kid. And then I did it for a few years and I stopped. But then I was just like, you know, I'm not in love with performing it, but I'm in love with creating it. So I want to find a way I can do that. And film is such a collaborative thing, but I'm just like, I can write humor pieces. I could write things for the New Yorker. I can write, you know, humor essays and stuff. So I started doing that. My first writing job was I was covering the Cleveland Cavaliers and the NBA for Complex magazine. Do you guys remember Complex? Yeah, I
Mike
covered.
would.
What?
Mike probably would.
They're still around.
Okay.
Complex Media owns the first We Feast stuff, like Hot Ones.
Okay, yeah.
That show, like they own like that stuff now. So, and then from there, and then I went back to stand up, and I'm kind of on and off of doing stand up. But I'm on. I co-host it's called the Bill Squire Show with Bill Squire, who is the co-host of the afternoon drive time show here in Cleveland. I'm on the radio, and I'm the co-host of his iHeart podcast.
Cool,
currently.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, which
And
I've been
I just
listening
started-
to. It's fun, man.
Thanks,
fun
man.
Stuff. Definitely
Thanks. Are you
check it
listening?
out.
Are you listening for my jokes, or because Tommy is a stone cold fox?
Oh shit.
I'm listening. I'm listening because you reached out to us. I'm like, well, I'll see what this guy's doing, and then I've been listening since then. It's fun
That's
stuff.
cool.
It's
Thanks,
funny.
man. Oh, and the other thing, I just started writing for Movie Web.
Oh, that's
Oh,
great. Good for you.
awesome.
Yeah, Movie Web. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had an article go up 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
They gave me an assignment. I had to rank Kevin Costner's best performances.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's fun.
dude, that is very fun.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm not a big listicle guy,
Yeah.
but I got excited because I wanted to see if the editor would allow me to consider the literal 3 seconds he spends as a corpse in The Big Chill.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
I actually read this of yours. It was great.
Oh, thank you. And I essentially, I was just like, okay, yeah, I want to do that because that's just funny to me.
Yeah, it was.
But in order for me to do it, I had to make a compelling case.
And you actually did, man.
I think I did.
I thought you did.
And I went to the editor and I was just like, I'm shocked you let this fly. And he was just like, you wrote it very eloquently and you made a really good case for it. So I worked so hard at the joke that I spun nonsense out of my asshole.
I don't know how
Okay.
nonsensical it was. I thought your
No,
points
I mean,
were
it
actually
made
pretty
sense.
good.
But I had to make nonsense make sense.
Right. To
Like-
make the joke
like-
work. Yeah, I got you.
I didn't even put the bodyguard on the list.
Mm.
Like the
I can see
bodyguard wasn't even on the list.
As long as Mr. Brooks was, I'm fine.
Mr. Brooks was not on the list either.
Okay. Oh shit.
What did I have? I had The Big Chill. I had Dances with Wolves.
Of course.
Untouchables.
Mm.
Field of Dreams. Bull
Field of
Durham.
Dreams.
Bull Durham's just one of the greatest comedies ever made.
I haven't
And
seen
I
that
had
in
one
so
more
long.
on there, but I don't remember what it was.
Perfect World.
Yeah, it was Perfect World.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's such a
fucking
good movie.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What do you have any recommendations for our listeners, film wise, besides being John Malkovich and?
Oh
whatever
yeah,
else?
I mean, I rewatched. Speaking of Kaufman, to get ready for that other show, I rewatched a bunch of. I rewatched Anomalisa.
Oh, that's so good.
Anomalisa.
Yeah.
That is so impressive, and it's such an achievement.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I think that's one of the more complex stop motion films ever made.
If not the most.
I think it's so
Emotionally.
complex. Yeah, emotionally, and just what the things they were able to capture emotionally in the faces of these characters, I think were the most complex in the history of stop motion, and of the form. I saw the Alex Winter, Alex Winter.
Yeah, Bill.
I saw his Zappa documentary for the first time.
Yeah, I've been wanting to watch that. How is it?
It's very good. I mean, if you're not, I recommend it more. Wait, what happened?
I'm not really a fan. You're saying it's better if you're not a huge fan.
I think it's better if you're not a fan because it's
Okay.
more insightful. Because I knew everything. Because I'm a Zappa guy. Because I feel like Zappa. Here's the thing about Zappa that I think if I could explain Zappa to people who don't get Zappa or who aren't a fan of Zappa at his core was a comedian and he was a satirist. And I think people approach Zappa as if like this is rock and roll. And he was more Stravinsky meets Steve Martin. He was a comedian that was satirizing the music of its time and jokingly and ironically making musical masterpieces on the level of Stravinsky or Bach, and with distortion pedals and dick and fart jokes.
Right.
Like he was Weird Al Yankovic
Yeah.
before Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay, that's
And doing like really great.
Right, but like making
Right.
just musical, prodigious sounds.
Okay.
I watched that.
I'm interested.
Yeah, it's really good. What else did I see? I saw Gone Girl for the first time.
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you think?
I'll never watch that fucking movie ever
Nope.
again.
That's a one and done.
That's a one and done, dude. That movie made me so fucking uncomfortable
Dang.
Yeah.
that I'm just like, don't like not like I ever thought about doing it in the first place, but don't neglect people a woman you love, dude. Not saying like she'll go that far, but that was scary shit, dude. Like that freaked me out more than Fatal Attraction did. Because like Fatal Attraction didn't scare me, right?
It's popcorn.
Like about what?
It's like popcorn trash. Fatal Attraction.
Right. Like 30 minutes into Fatal Attraction, I was like, I would have beaten the fuck out of Glenn Close. Like she has no chance. I would have punched that bitch in the fucking head.
Okay.
Like
you said you were going to try and get canceled. I think we're starting now.
No, but I think like Glenn Close deserved every fucking thing. I mean, Michael Douglas was what?
So she boiled that rabbit.
I've never seen the movie, but that's why.
Oh,
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a movie where I know a rabbit's going to get boiled in it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Glenn Close.
I know it's fake, but I'm good.
If there's any antagonist that deserved to get completely fucking creamed in a movie, it was Glenn Close in that. She took like, don't get me wrong, like Michael Douglas wasn't a saint. He was kind of a piece of shit, but he didn't deserve all that.
He was cheating on his wife, right?
Right, but
he doesn't deserve all that. I think I haven't seen it. Again, I'm speculating here.
No, he didn't deserve all that, and neither did Ben Affleck, even though he was a total piece of shit. Like he was an asshole too. But yeah, I'm not watching that movie again.
Well, speaking of movies that we at least thought we'd never watch again, let's segue into The Other Sister.
All right, let's do
this movie came out in 1999.
Gary Marshall, Happy Days.
Gary Marshall
Gary,
from Happy Days, League of Their Own. Wasn't that him, or was that Penny Marshall?
Yeah,
Penny Marshall.
No, that was Penny Marshall.
Pretty Woman.
Oh, Pretty Woman.
Yeah. Dear God.
Dear God. Okay.
Dear God.
Well, what do you think, guys? We always guess what we think the IMDb score is before we get started. What do you think? What's the IMDb score for The Other Sister? Any guesses?
You guys go first.
I'm going to guess. You already looked?
No, I didn't already look.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to guess low. I'm going to guess real low.
Okay.
But
That's
I'm
fair.
not going to guess like a talking cat low. Or like The Room, or The Room probably has pretty good. I won't guess Morbius low.
Okay.
I'll say 5.4.
Yeah. I think there's some fans here. I'm gonna say 6.3.
Oh, that's up there.
I'm gonna agree. I think it's like around 6 because I think initially, I don't know. I'm gonna save that for more into the discussion because I'm gonna guess 6.
All right.
Okay.
Survey says 6.4.
Oh my God! Wow. Okay.
Did you look, Eric?
No, I did not look. I did not
great.
look.
Wow.
6.4.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what? I think that's fair because have you guys seen this movie before?
Yeah.
I saw it in like 99 because Giovanni Ribisi, I was a big fan of his.
Yeah.
And I was watching anything he put out around that
Julia
time.
Lewis.
So I definitely was on this.
I
And-
haven't seen this movie in like 15 years.
I had seen it the one time and I had not seen it since.
Can I say something? I'm just
You
gonna
can say all kinds of stuff. It's a
I
podcast.
watched it for the first time last night.
Oh, that was the first time?
Did you?
No, in like 15 years.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it was the first time since 99 or 2000 for me too, dude. So, I mean, is that true for you too, Eric?
Well, let's put it this way. This is the first time I've seen all of it because I believe I turned it off in 99.
All right. What about reviews? Usually we read some reviews. I don't know
Yeah,
how
I've
to
got
use the
one.
internet though.
So, Ross Anthony of the Hollywood Report Card says impresses with its hearty ability to tickle and tear its audience. He gives it a fresh tomato.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And then Lisa Schwartzbaum, you got to excuse me here. Lisa Schwartzbaum,
No, I don't
fair
know.
warning. Fair warning, because a lot of these reviews I read, this is 1999, and they are tossing the R word around. Listen to this fucking review from a professional film critic from the Entertainment Weekly.
Well, and let me add a disclaimer here.
Please.
For 13 years, I worked in a group home.
Okay.
With intellectual disabilities.
Okay.
The R word, while it always so there are people that I worked with who were of a certain age, who grew up in a time where they didn't have diagnoses like autism. They didn't have Down syndrome. You were diagnosed as with profound mental retardation.
Right. It was a medical term. At one point, moron was a medical term. I mean, it was idiot.
So there were a lot mongoloid, was thrown around a lot.
Right.
And so there was a time where the word retard was not what it is now. It evolved to a derogatory term.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
In 1999, while that might have been a little late, because
that was a transition period, I would say.
There was kind of a transition period there, because even in that movie, which I'm going to get to how I view it, because like I said, it was the first time in 15 years I've watched it since yesterday. They even knew in the movie that when they said the R word in the movie, it was meant in a derogatory way.
Right, which is good. I mean,
which is good
if they're going to use it.
There were things that, well, I'll get to that in a minute after we go to this review. I just want to add this disclaimer.
Okay.
So when you quote that person, I think that might have been a little late, but it might have been a transition period into when we stopped sort of using that. And then it became mentally challenged, then intellectually disabled. Right. And that's kind of where they are now. It's like,
good point.
You be the judge. Yeah, you'd be the judge, because Lisa Schwartzbaum says there's a word for this vulgar family therapy movie: retarded.
Oh, yeah. See, that's disgusting.
Yeah. Can't do that.
Yeah, for 99, she was using that word as like an insult.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, no, you can't do that. There's another way you could say what this movie was, especially because we'll finish the review, and then we'll let you finish that.
That's it, man. And our old buddy Desson Thompson checking in on January 1st, 2000 from the Washington Post. You know, we're big Desson Thompson fans here, AJ.
Yeah.
Brevity never ceases to amaze. He says, it's a splat. Everything is reduced to a transparent formula, and everyone plays their schematic part.
Okay.
I agree with that review.
I can't argue against it. I seldom disagree. That's why we like Desson Thompson so much. I mean, he's always very concise, but usually pretty dead on. I mean, it's now take the intellectually challenged part of it out of the movie, and you have an extremely formulaic film.
It is exactly.
Okay.
But also too, that's a Garry Marshall film.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's a Garry Marshall film, and just because something's formulaic. Pretty Woman is connect the dots. You know what I mean?
Right, but Prostitution is like a whole new spin on it.
Right.
It takes the rom-com, this formulaic thing, and then puts this different spin on it by making one of the characters a sex worker.
Right.
Which is kind of,
but it also plays with the idea of Richard Gere, kind of like, I want to save you.
Right.
Sort of thing. And it's just like, okay, like she's a sex worker. She's like making a good living. If anything, you're kind of holding her back. I mean, she could take a dick. I mean, let her take it. Let her take dick all she wants. But
Garry Marshall, we have words for you in the next film that you make about prostitution, when you come back to life, that is.
Yeah, when you resurrect. But yeah, no, it is a Garry Marshall, because like, even if you look at League, Penny Marshall did it, but it's very similar. It's very similar style filmmaking. Did Garry Marshall or Penny Marshall direct League of Their Own?
Yeah,
definitely Penny Marshall. It was, yeah.
But it's a very similar formula.
She does. Any other reviews that we? Sorry, go ahead.
It's very formulaic. Field of Dreams is formulaic.
Formula
syrupy.
There's a reason why we fall back on formula, and how saccharine it is that's one thing or another. Is there any other reviews we want to touch on?
Balance it out with one more kind of positive review from Bob Fenster of the Arizona Republic, a top critic. The charming innocence in this unusual take on first love And first heartbreak gives the other sister its special quality.
All right. So we ordinarily here would talk about the first time that we watched the movie, but we already kind of covered that.
Yeah.
I will say it's an interesting choice. Like I I was like, are you sure when you told me, AJ, what you wanted to go with?
Oh.
And you
I'm
were
going to tell you why I was
all
sure.
caps.
Damn.
I
Yeah.
want to tell you why I was sure. Because
Bring it.
it was something, because I'll talk about the first time I saw this movie.
Okay.
Mhm.
I watched this in 1999. Actually, no, it's been more than 15 years since I've seen it. It's
Mhm.
been like 1999, 2000. I was at my dad's and my stepsisters were watching it. And I remember just like being entranced and like going like, what the fuck is
Okay.
what? Like, this is insane. Going and thinking that, and then, this movie never really left the back of my brain going like,
okay.
I can't believe they made that movie. And as I matured and as I had experience in that field of group homes and this movie just always stuck in the back of my head as something that like it had. I feel like when I remembered it the first time I saw it, I felt like they were making fun of the population.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people felt that way.
And I think a lot of people felt that way. Now is a time where we can talk about the most recent view.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I rewatched it last night, and I thought, this is very formulaic. This is very connect the dots. They swung, and I think they missed, but they weren't making fun of the subject matter. They tried the best they could to treat it with dignity.
Yeah.
And I think they meant very well. I think their intentions were good. I think the performances is where it falls flat.
Okay. So the premise, as we said, the premise of the show, our podcast is to take old movies and see if they still hold up. But AJ, I was actually going to save this for the end, but since we've kind of already gotten into it, I'll say it now. Thank you very much for this choice, because I think that I'm as interested, honestly, in taking films that I remember as fantastically bad and seeing if they still hold up as being quite as bad as I remember. I might make some kind of off the wall choices coming forward on the show, because it was interesting to go back. And because I was like, oh fuck, when you chose this, I was like, oh man, what are we getting into?
Yeah. I thought that can I be honest? Like I thought I'm not, it wasn't ever like when I chose that movie, it was just like, it's going to be fodder for like, oh my God, how fucking ridiculous was that?
Yeah.
But it completely, after the viewing last night, completely changed my mind. My approach.
The thing is, man, like I remember 99. I remember exactly when I watched this at a friend of mine's house. And this is after I had to sit through similarly saccharine, syrupy horseshit like Patch Adams, maybe that same year, like Stepmom, maybe that same year. And this was a trifecta for me of movies with this serious subject matter that was kind of designated or devolved into this cutesy wootsy horse shit.
Right.
And it was upsetting because it was Hollywood turning this subject matter into popcorn and jujube entertainment, and they were not getting it right. So that I turned it off because, granted, I'm 19 years old and I'm watching a movie where two mentally disabled people are about to have sex, and I say to myself, this is irresponsible. And a part of me just kind of laughed at it because I thought that it was, I don't want to say taboo, but just something that I didn't trust filmmakers to be able to promote successfully. Mm-hmm. So I think there was a big kind of stain on this right out of the gate, probably even before it was released. People were probably ready to attack it for reasons I'm not sure were proper.
On just pure principle.
I think that a lot of us may have had maybe not great expectations for Garry Marshall and the rest of the filmmakers. I don't know why we all would assume that their intentions were bad, like that they would want to make a movie like this to mock people. I don't know why we thought that, and I think a lot of people didn't really think that, but just that it came off, that was well intentioned, but came off so bad that it was
there's
insulting.
No way you're gonna have immature dick bags like 11-year-old AJ not watch that movie and think it was the most ridiculous fucking thing they've ever seen. Like, how can that happen? You will never be able, because I think it comes with, once again, put yourselves back in 1999. Put yourself back in the headspace you were.
I was 19. I was
when
not.
you saw that movie. Yeah. Like, you're just like, and the way you thought about that population back then.
Yeah.
Versus the evolution of society now and the evolution of us now, where we're just like, no, these people are independent. Like, they should be.
And that's what the movie's about.
Encouraged to be as independent as they can. Now, granted, I think I will go back and say I think it is popcorn. I think it is I think it is formulaic. I think it's connect the dots. I think the performances that was the worst part, were the depictions, because it seemed like they were doing their best impressions of what they think or thought
problem.
Intellectually disabled people were and behaved.
Here's the thing, though, right? Like, I was thinking about this problem from the studio's perspective when it came to making this movie. When they greenlit this script and attached Garry Marshall to direct, like, they knew they had to put stars in this feature. They're not going to be able to
actually cast intellectually disabled people.
These days, we would probably have a lot more expectation to cast someone who's actually intellectually disabled. But in those days, that was rarely the thinking. You know what really stuck out to me in this? Now, Sarah Paulson is, I don't know what she claims. She's LGBT anyways. I don't think she likes the word lesbian, but she is playing a gay woman, and they're talking frankly about her marriage and
that was an interesting part of the movie.
Fascinating.
That I wanted to see more of.
Yeah, and it was handled pretty goddamn well by anyone's standards, by any time standards. I think even for now, I mean, like,
to me, that was a little too on the nose.
Sure, it was all very
a lot of on the nose things.
It was all after school special. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the things, and I went looking after the fact, after I watched it, like what are because you've got a background, AJ, in this field. I don't have a lot of experience with this stuff, so I want to know what people thought who had a problem with it, who were grounded in that field. And most of the people that seem to have problems with it were not people coming from the academic or the medical side, or people that were actually have mental disabilities or around it. Most of the complaints seem to come from people that were just kind of like, Diane Keaton kept on making fun. It's like, well, yeah, that's the problem. That's the point. Like, all of Diane Keaton's character stuff is supposed to be wrong. Like, I read one review.
She's the villain of the movie.
I read one review, like, when she keeps on calling them children, like, yeah, we're supposed to have a problem with the fact that she's calling them children.
That's
like, you're kind of missing the point here.
That's right. Which Diane Keaton, obviously, like any film she's in, she's keeping that movie afloat. Like,
fucking A.
Diane Keaton is a national treasure, and she's a
agree.
master. And even the bad movies she's in, she's fucking great.
I'll watch everything she did. I watched one of the movies I didn't mention was Book Club. This cast is insane. It was that I just watched Diane Keaton and Mary Steenburgen and Jane Fonda and Craig T. Nelson and Don Johnson. I'm like, this cast is nuts. But anyways, Diane Keaton, as always, holds the fort down, because that's what she does in every movie that she's in. She plays Diane Keaton extremely well, over and over and over again.
Outside of Meryl Streep, I think Diane Keaton is the greatest living American actress.
Wow.
The greatest living American actress.
Michelle Williams for me. I love Michelle Williams, but
Michelle Williams is great. I mean, I think Cate Blanchett's better, but she's a Brit.
Australian,
I think Judi Dench is better. She's a Brit.
Right.
But I think Diane Keaton is the best living American actress.
She's fucking great. I won't argue that.
Sally Field's great too.
I love her. Yeah, she's great too.
There's so much to unpack. I mean, Travis, you bring up a good point. Like, what was the awareness like in '99 as opposed to today? So I do want to mention the fact that it is Mental Health Awareness Month right now, here in May. And doing a little research, I was kind of surprised to see that 21% of U.S. adults experience mental illness here in 2020. And that's 52 million people, about 1 in 5 adults. So this is a prevalent thing, and I imagine it was in 99. That's why I am a little surprised to see this kind of casual language tossed about for a film that takes a chance on this subject matter. And I was also surprised to see 90% of people with these specific low IQ disabilities are living independently or with family.
Oh yeah, dude.
Whereas just about 10% are actually institutionalized. And one of the things I like in this movie early on is that Carla's kind of sent back home. I mean, I like the fact that it's a kind of a rehabilitation school, and the intention is not just to keep her there and for everyone to, argue with her parents saying, like, you can't take her away, she needs to be here. It's kind of a very open, positive thing in terms of how they introduce the issue.
The inclusivity.
Yeah.
They try to make, like, they promote inclusivity very much in this movie. And there's another very fascinating thing about this movie. How many movies have you ever seen where the villain, their crime is that they want to protect their children?
Turning Red.
Yeah,
but it's not often.
Yeah, okay.
It's not often though. It's only because
Yeah.
that's such a recent example was I able to think of that. It doesn't happen hardly ever. Where where the mother or the parent is someone who's really, really well intentioned is the impediment to be dealt with.
But you can really understand it, because you can understand, like, the world is a bad place, and especially, working in that field, you find out that this population of people are objectively so the most discriminated against population on the planet.
I believe that.
On the planet.
I believe it. And, and another thing that this movie, I think, does pretty well, I'm going to channel our buddy Luke here, because I'm going to talk about class. One of the things I really like about the movie is that it shows how someone who has these kind of cognitive disabilities, how their background, who is with them, how that makes a world of difference for them. You have Carla, who's sent to this special school. Her parents pay for her apartment. Like they're rich. They're able to afford to do that with her. When it comes to Danny, he's taken care of by his parents too, but it's a lot more tenuous. It's a lot more situated on how he does in school, and like he's like trying to be independent, but like he doesn't have the same options as Carla, because his family doesn't have that kind of money. And also, to get to your point, like this, AJ, like this is true regardless of any mental disabilities or whatever, like, which is one of the things I liked about the movie as well. You take all of that mental stuff out of the equation, and again, you have a mother treating their child much like a lot of parents treat their children, like infantilizing them in one moment and then expecting them to act like perfect adults the next. I mean, like it was really actually pretty relatable.
It was. And that's a thing that this film does well, is they punch through the story about the disability and touch upon a human element that we can all identify with.
Yeah, and with Carla, the film's been accused of cliche, but you don't have the scene where she burns the kitchen down because the toaster's left down, whatever.
Right.
Instead, you get a scene where a character is proving their autonomy, or at least sticking up for their own self-motivation, which I didn't expect.
She does the thing you don't expect her to do. When a quote retard that Diane Keaton calls her.
Okay.
Right. And like I said, that's just what it's 1999. It's the way people referred to those people.
Yeah. Your friend like beats you at Mortal Kombat, you call him a retard. We remember the 90s. We've moved on. We got better.
But she was called that by people in that movie.
Yeah.
And you expect her to stumble and, like you said, light the kitchen on fire, kill the fish, but she doesn't do that. She does the thing you don't expect her to do, and she thrives.
Yeah.
She fucking thrives.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole movie, she's pushing forward, which
Okay.
the director of that school and that she's leaving in the beginning signals that to the audience, like she always pushes forward. Sorry, Eric, what were you gonna say?
I can see that, man, but and I do like that sort of stuff. But it does run the risk of saying that people, even high functioning people, don't have any problems and that everything's going to be okay. I think they could have put more consequences into it, because even with her and Danny, like, how bad does it get? It doesn't really do that good of a job of showing the challenges and obstacles that are there. They're overcome fairly easily.
They show the what is possible. But I think you see the consequences more so with Danny than you do with Carla. I think, like, he doesn't know how to handle his drinking.
For instance,
well,
right?
When a bartender is serving a mentally disabled kid like that green shit that's like 1,000 proof.
Yeah, he can't handle it. He can't. It's the Danny. You see the consequences of not being able to understand social cues.
But I think that also goes back to and this is beyond class. This gets also just into like the family differences between the two of them. You know, she is sent to this school, she's sent away, but her parents, they want to do better. They want, like, you know, her mom is actively thinking out loud to herself, like, I want to make it up to her. And her dad's a recovered alcoholic who knows he did bad and is trying to do better. Whereas Danny's father hangs up on him when he's like literally asking him how he's doing. And Danny has no one to turn to but his fucking landlord to get any sort of advice or a hug. There's literally no one in Danny's life to help teach him those kinds of social cues and stuff. So he's actually...
He's teaching him. He's like a father figure.
Right. So I agree that a lot of the performances here are problematic, but once you can kind of get past that, once you can get past that and and let yourself get involved in the story, I found myself really empathizing with just about every major character in here, which is, I mean, for, again, a saccharine kind of movie, that's what they're trying to make you do, but it was successful for me.
And to get back to your point too, I think the concern comes from Diane Keaton.
Yeah.
I think she is a voice that needs to be listened to too. She is not a complete villain, because she also knows, just like you said, from the point of view, like, this can go very, very poorly. And we need to all know that. And I'm not calling for a sequel to this movie, but after the movie was over, I'm like, I wonder where Carla and Danny are 10, 20 years later.
There's kind of a missed opportunity there. Like, I'm not a huge fan of The Graduate. I don't think it's aged that well, but I've seen it many times. Yeah. And I think they miss kind of a huge point of that movie. They ape on it heavily. Especially with the whole, end, you got to fight for the woman you love and come back and break up the wedding. At the end of The Graduate, Benjamin and Catherine Ross, they're
on the bus.
They realized that they probably were much too spontaneous and made a mistake, and their life might not be as happily ever after as they thought.
Which is why it's so
funny. I
funny.
could have used that in this.
Well, it's so funny when she asked him, like, "Oh, The Graduate, does it have a happy ending?"
Right.
He's like, "I don't know. They didn't make a sequel."
Right. Well, they did with Kevin Costner. Rumor has it.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's not really a sequel.
Yeah, it's not really.
It's a revival. Going back to Diane Keaton, dude. Like, I don't know. Travis, you know how I feel about her. I think she overacts. She's obnoxious.
Oh, you're not a Diane Keaton.
I am not a fan. Except for early work with Woody Allen. Like, so much of the film, yes, it's of this wealthy, affluent family, and they send their kid away because, I don't know if it's because they're not prepared to deal with it or because they have the resources to just
both
get rid of the issue.
I know. That's what you did at the time. Like, there are so many people I took care of who their families, upon doctor's advice, just left them at the hospital after they gave birth.
You're right. That was the norm, and she would have been put there like an 85 or so.
Family and you got to think Diane Keaton, 75. I mean, so you got to imagine that character would be 75 years old today. Carla would probably be 50 now, or at least late 40s.
Yeah. Something like
back then that was commonplace. And I'm not saying like people didn't stay home, but that was very common. I mean,
Mm.
and especially if you were affluent.
Mm.
Especially if you were affluent. You know, the
That's a good
Kennedys did that.
Yeah, yes, they did. I'm still
Yeah.
waiting for a really good documentary on Rosemary.
Yeah.
But listen, man, like, yeah, you can easily VFI her until the very end, in my opinion, because someone with that type of challenge at that young of age in this first love, she does kind of have a point. She is trying to protect her daughter from making a mistake, and I'd expect this from any mother with someone that young making this big of a decision.
Can we also note that together, collectively, Danny and Carla ruin Carolyn's engagement party,
Yikes.
her wedding, and
Yeah.
then the reception, like graduate times 3.
I had to walk away from the TV. I couldn't watch it.
Cringe.
When Giovanni Ribisi gets drunk and then goes to the microphone, I had to get up and leave. I had to get up and leave. I'm like, I'm going to go back in there in 5 minutes. I'm not watching that. It just made me so fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, because the crowd was like with him and like, oh, this is so sweet. Like
that's how life works.
And then like what actually I think it was because like because everyone thinks they're this great person and this guy gets up there and he's like professing his love and they're like, oh,
you can also tell that he's mentally challenged too.
Right. So they're on board with him at first and then they start laughing at him as it goes on, you know, and then they're collectively laughing at him. And you know, for Juliette Lewis, when she has those kind of like really upset moments, like, or even better when she like almost does and then doesn't, like she's like her face turns all red and then a little like kind of like she actually does some pretty decent stuff here.
Did you catch the moment? Did you catch the moment where she was screaming on the golf course and she was literally so mad that fountains of water spewed from her ears? Like the shot was lined up in such a way that the sprinklers were timed perfectly.
Oh my God. No, I'm glad I missed that. I would have
go back. It's
the
hilarious.
fuck out of that. That's terrible.
The one thing that I thought was great it was very witty.
Yeah,
there were very witty parts.
Yeah.
Like I wonder who invented sex anyway. And then he's just like, oh, I think it was Madonna.
It's
like, that's a good joke.
It's
really
sweet,
is.
and it passes the Encino Man factor because the moments are not they're circumstantially humorous.
Yeah.
Fish out of water horseshit where you're just, and that's the thing. The only times that Carla really gets upset is when people are like laughing at her and not with her. And throughout the film, we are laughing with her at some of these situations. Yes. And she wouldn't approve of us laughing at anything that she does that is silly or dumb.
Sorry, go ahead.
Please.
Well, I do think there's a couple moments where we were kind of supposed to laugh at Danny, but not because of anything to do with his challenges, but just kind of like the circumstances, like when he puts on the marching band music for them to have sex too. That's clearly a joke, which is funny. I mean, that's funny, but so it's a fine line that they have to walk. The writer and the director, really.
Stay away from I Am Sam territory at all costs.
I think there were more setups to laugh at Danny than there were at Carla. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Like him swinging from the church. Like that kind of was like, oh man, we were laughing at Danny.
Yeah.
At points. Like, and that's what it doesn't do well. But like the lines, like when I thought the funniest part of the movie, we're going back to the golf course, was when she's yelling at Diane Keaton. She's like, this wedding's horrible. I hate everything about it. She was like,
this dress.
I kind of like it. I'm going to keep it. I think.
That was great.
Like, that was a great line. And it was well written and it was funny.
I also really liked when they're discussing like how to go about having sex. Like they approach it so academically. They're like breaking out the joy of sex, and Giovanni Ribisi is like, "Well, if I remember correctly, I believe on page 46 there's something that looks particularly tantalizing." Like it's pretty funny. And then he like goes in the bedroom. He's like, "Ready? Are you ready?" And it's just I mean, like again, like completely relatable. He's a 19-year-old, like 20-year-old kid about to have sex for like the first time, and he's like so excited about it. But when she tells him no, he's just like, okay, we'll wait until Thanksgiving. We'll get good and stuffed, then fuck. That's how you do it. But one of the things I loved about this movie was this really honest communication that Danny and Carla have with each other. Like they'll frequently tell each other, I didn't want you to think that I was stupid, or I was scared of this or that, and I'm scared of your family. And like, it's just so open and honest. And it's like, well, damn, like any couple could take a lesson from that.
Yeah. You looked like you had something you were like thinking about and like stewing on.
Eric?
Yeah,
I
Eric.
always look like that. That's my general demeanor.
Oh yeah, no, but you had something like, ooh, and
you know what?
Ooh, he's got.
I don't know if I want to bring it up because one part of me does have kind of an issue with the Danny character in that it seems his quest throughout the film is maybe just to eventually make love to Carla. They don't really do much in terms of building this relationship in terms of a legitimate romance and two people falling in love, or maybe not enough for me. Like the vending machine at the Greyhound station is sweet, but for like 30 minutes, it's all about just consummating this relationship. And he just kind of comes off like a sex hungry kid for the most part.
He is, I mean, like a 20-year-old kid. And I think the movie, more than anything, more than even being about like intellectually challenged people, it's about young people finding their independence. And there's a lot, that's like what's happening. Like they're getting into their first apartments. They're getting into their first real relationships. They're trying to figure out how to it's kind of a humorous moment, but it's instructive, or it makes sense when she's like, my body's telling me we need to do more than kiss. Like that's normal, babe. It's cool. Like you're a young adult. So it's like, they're all like trying to figure out how to be, a young adult. And yeah, I agree that that's partly what's motivating him, but that's understandable and realistic. And he's extremely, I think, genuinely, the character like loves her.
Going back to that reviewer, man, it is first and foremost kind of a movie about first love. And I think that's where the screenwriters who have been demonized for this for so many years, I think that's kind of where they got it right. Because it's not about one of the characters trying to either convince or support the other just being able to function. It's about two people trying to be independent and go out on their own, which is a great message for any romance.
I did not think that this is the way the other sister conversation was going to go. I did not think it.
Surprising.
Dude, what? You told us this like a month ago, and for like a month I dreaded this night.
But I watched it last night, and you guys watched it, and you were just like, you know what? I think this is going to be good. I think this is going to be a good conversation.
I texted Eric, like, what if it's a good movie before we both sat down to watch it separately. I mean, we haven't gotten into revealing our, final verdict here, whether or not does it hold up. But I will say it surprised me.
It surprised me.
I could watch Tom Skerritt read the phone book, and he does turn in a relaxed, warm performance here. I'm tantalized in the beginning with the possibility of this alcohol problem, developing that, especially when she's regurgitated into adult life, and with this domineering mother, could have been an interesting angle. It's kind of abandoned, and he's just a support system. I needed a little more from this father character.
Maybe a little more, but I mean, it's a big family, and we're trying to balance her relationship with each of these family members and her new relationship with Danny. So I agree. I could always use more Skerritt, and I wish that he was doing more like leading work, just generally speaking, because I think that he's really good. But getting into one other thing,
my laptop battery's low.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll wrap up a little early, maybe.
Yeah, I would have to go upstairs and get my charger. I don't know if that would be aesthetically pleasing for the viewers, but I could stay longer.
Well, if you want to go ahead and run and grab it real quick.
Yeah. Let me go run and grab it.
We can just kind of vamp for a second. Does this or does this not, though, have a fucking awful soundtrack?
The classic bouncy, over obnoxious, cloyingly saccharine score is unbearable.
Well, that's Rachel Portman. I mean, what do you? I mean, like, I'm sorry, but she's not my favorite.
Score
But I'm
is a
talking the
problem.
soundtrack. We got Fine Young Cannibals in here. I think the Soup Dragons or
Whoa,
Jesus
whoa,
Jones.
dude! I love Fine Young Cannibals, but She Drives Me Crazy.
Of
You're gonna
all
be that
songs.
on the nose?
Right.
Come on, dude.
I mean, it's just like a barrage of really bad like songs from that era. But you know, we mentioned Rachel Portman when the movie started. I'm like looking at the credits. I was like, "Wow, Rachel Portman." You know, like I'm like looking at Garry Marshall.
Right.
Oh, Dante Spinotti,
Dante
the
Spinotti.
literally the best cinematographer out there. Now, Garry Marshall doesn't use him properly, he flattens everything out, especially
Yeah.
the lighting. But man, like I mean, this going in to make this movie, they had. They were confident. They had this really good crew of filmmakers. You know, so.
Yep. Yeah, it's
they swung for it. AJ, like you said, they were definitely trying here. They were swinging for it.
The intentions were good.
Yeah,
the intentions were good here, which is something that and back then I knew they were too. I guess it was just a young version of me going like, "What the hell are they doing?"
Yeah, exactly, AJ. Like thinking back, I remember kind of wondering, like, did they seriously think that we need to be like we need to be made aware that even mentally challenged people can live happy, independent lives and get involved in romantic relationships? Do we need a movie to tell us this?
I think we do.
Fuck.
I mean,
that's a problem.
Are there many other movies that? I mean, think of the other movies that from this at all, even that feature characters with these kinds of disabilities. What?
Sure.
Like, There's Something About Mary. Remember her brother? Like, I mean, like
that's
shit,
cringy.
That
That
awful.
is a direct. We're making fun of mentally challenged people,
right? And that's the kind of stuff that was
like
in
direct.
the most popular films from that time, and broadly accepted and normal. And you surprised me, Eric, when you said Molly came out the same year, because like what Dominic and Eugene, I Am Sam.
Sure.
I feel like we can sit here and name
you have
almost every movie that has these kinds of people as the main characters.
You have your Gilbert Grapes, and you've got your Sling Blade, for what it is, it is.
Yeah.
You have capability there, but for the most part, they are plot devices as characters, and that's a huge problem.
I think that I've read that some people's review on The Other Sister where that they said something similar here, that like it was all the problems were based around their issues. But I think that some of them do, but it's really more the other people's reactions to those disabilities, like her mother.
These people seeking what we're all seeking.
Exactly.
Like what everybody who is alive is trying to do, and that is to function in a society to the best of your ability. And the chief problem that Diane Keaton has here is I think she regards Carla as guilty until proven innocent. Like she can't do it until you prove that you can. But that's not how you treat other kids. You know what I'm saying? That's not how you treat other people. Is you go out into the world and you fail, and now I gotta watch you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She doesn't let her breathe. She doesn't let her grow.
Smothers. Right.
She smothers. She's just like, no, you can't do it because you are this way. Instead of like, okay, let's see what you can do. And then if you slip up and you fail, we're gonna. I mean, the fact that that she's a bright person. The fact that she hitchhiked 200 miles and got back to her school, didn't get kidnapped or end up dead shows you this woman can live in the world.
Seriously,
like getting 200 miles without being able to drive. Like, what, dude?
Pretty impressive.
It's insane. I mean, Forrest Gump ran across the United States.
This is true. Twice. This is true. Back and forth. Now that you mention it. Well, what do you think, guys? Let's make our rounds. Make our final cases. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we make our final verdicts here?
Who do you want to start with?
I mean, I think I've covered pretty much everything I wanted to cover. Tids and bits. I wanted to mention
Tids and bits. Yeah, would you eat
bits.
that? Would you eat tids and bits?
I would not.
Okay, yeah, me neither.
But I'll go ahead and go first, unless one of you wants to. I don't care. So yeah, as I said, I'd not seen this since it came out. I had a really low opinion of it when it did come out. I put this in the category of films like The Happening, The Pest, The
Yeah.
Room. You know, these are like movies that are famously bad.
Yeah.
And when you chose it, AJ, like I said, I was pretty nervous that it was going to, not just that it was going to be bad, but that it was going to be like a shit show, basically, to talk about. And then I started watching the movie, and as I mentioned, some of the people like Dante Spinotti's name and Rachel Portman's name came up, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. And what really got me is when, you know, early on in the film, there's this sequence where they talk about how Carla's character as a kid is trying to eat peas off a knife, and then she gets back from the school, and it shows her eating peas properly with a fork, and then she looks around the table to see if anyone notices, and no one did. And I'm like, oh shit, this movie's going to be good. It holds up for me. I was impressed by the other sister. Is it formulaic? Sure. Is it sappy? Is it problematic in some ways that are probably beyond me? But yes. But you know, and expectations are a hell of a thing, right? I mean, like if my expectations had been high for this, like, oh, I remember this was a great movie. I don't know how I'd feel. That's one of the fun things
But
about.
you remembered that it was a bad movie.
But I remembered it was a bad movie.
And you got surprised.
And I was pleasantly surprised. So I will say that to my shock and pleasure, the other sister holds up. I mean, it's not fucking great, but if you watched it and you've not seen it in a long time because you think it's a joke, joke's on you, bud. It's not. It's actually a decent film.
Damn. AJ, I'll give you the last word. I do feel quite a bit like the Diane Keaton character going into this movie, and that's a character that's whole persona is based on expectancy, especially within her social status.
Wow,
I
dude,
expected
this guy's a good writer.
I expected
There's a good writer. That's how I would open up a film essay. That's really good.
Thank you, AJ.
That's very good.
I expected the movie to disappoint me. And it's choices like these to piggyback on Travis, AJ, that make me excited to come to the show every week, because you can't rest on your laurels. And if you consider yourself a movie fan, you got to walk into any film with an open mind, even one that you thought was a true God, you know, honest to God turd. I like the film, man. It's got so much to say beyond the fact that we're dealing with mentally challenged people. This is a love story about people that have motivation, morals, and they're not just regurgitated precepts from their parents. And that's all you saw in the 90s and early 2000s. If anything, they're kind of defying their elders, and that's refreshing with characters like this. It's a credit to the writing. I think the performances are strong. It's an absolutely well-intentioned picture, as you said, AJ. A bit clumsily executed, but with a movie of this subject matter,
it's hard. It's hard
Bill
to hit.
Cooks in this kitchen, man. There's no getting around that at all. So yeah, I dug the film. Do I think that it's kind of an issue to have 2 hours of Diane Keaton completely disagreeing with everything this woman is doing, and then like there's not even a scene where she decides that, like, yeah, maybe I was wrong, I will go to the wedding. Nothing. That's a problem. But overall, man, this is a sweet picture, and it's got a lot to say that I enjoyed. I think it holds up. I can't believe I'm saying it.
All right.
Dude, I think the three of us are all in a spot right now where 2 weeks ago when I picked this movie, it was not my intention to come on here and make fun of intellectually disabled people.
Thank God.
It was not my intention. No, it was not my intention to troll.
That's what I thought. Admittedly, it crossed my mind that there's trolling.
No. It's not me. And you've seen the show I'm on. Yeah. I'm very direct and I'm very precise. If I don't like something, if I didn't want to do this show, I wouldn't have done it. I picked it because I wanted a challenge. I'm like, I wanted to talk about something challenging. And I wanted to see, and I want to go back and revisit this movie. And I wanted to see, like, what was the aim here? Like, this movie exists. Like, this movie was made, and it's out there, and it's been made by a cultural touchstone in Garry Marshall. And, you know, like, so let's rewatch this thing. Let's revisit this. This gave me a reason to do that, which I don't think I ever would have done that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when you said, hey, come on the pod, I'm just like, well, pick a movie. I'm like, I'm going to pick The Other Sister because that was the reason.
Wild card.
Yeah, it was because I worked in the field.
Mind blowing.
And like I said, and I think I even said this when I picked it initially. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie with such good intentions miss so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said that, I was wrong because I think they took a swing. I think they missed, but it was a good cut.
Yeah.
It was a good cut. There are good misses. There are bad misses.
Yeah, it's true.
It's
you
imperfect.
know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
if you guys are baseball. You guys are up in Detroit, right?
Mike's the baseball guy. We can spell
sports.
baseball.
Well, you guys have a pretty good guy named Miggy Cabrera.
We've heard of him.
Yeah, he's one of the best to ever do
I've
it. I mean, even when he swings and misses, it's a good swing.
Right.
And,
Right.
and this was a good swing. It just,
So it holds up.
missed. Yeah.
You gotta say the words. It holds up. All right.
It holds up.
That's
Wow.
3 motherfucking it holds up.
For the other,
For the
You
other
know what?
sister.
No, you know what? I will say, I'm not going to say it holds up. I say it exceeds expectations.
Okay.
Because if I said if it holds up, it would mean that it was just as bad as it was in 1999. And I watch it now with a fresh pair of eyes, with a matured brain, as an adult, and I'm like, I see what they're doing.
Difference.
Yeah,
Man, I'm truly thankful that you picked the movie, and I'm truly thankful that you came on the show, man. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, you are awesome.
Guys. I'd love to come back. I'd love to come back.
Yeah,
and do
we
this.
will have you back. We'll have you back.
Cool.
Absolutely. We'll have you back when Mike's on, so you get the full Cinema 9 experience.
For sure.
I know that he wanted to be here. But yeah, man, great call.
Thanks,
It
man.
was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll pick another movie that you guys will be like, oh no.
I hope you
Glitter.
do, man. You just
Come on
raised
with
the bar
Gigli.
for
Wait, what movie?
Gigli, the famous.
No, I'm gonna pick Steel with Shaquille O'Neal.
Steel.
That's what
I
I'm
think
gonna
we'll get lightning's not going to strike twice.
No, lightning will not strike. That movie's a piece of shit. Like, that's a piece of
Yeah, I believe it. So this is the part of the podcast where we go back into our regular rotation, and I will announce what I have chosen for our next viewing. I am, as always, wanting to drastically shift gears from wherever we were just at. And as always, I'm trying to get us out of the 1990s because there's many other decades of film. And I'm glad you picked the movie. We often stay in the 1990s. I'm bringing us up to, depending on which site you go to, I'm bringing us to either 2015 or 2016. But either way, it is a legitimate. It's been 5 years since it came out, and it is, I believe, other than First Reformed, which we did for special occasion.
What a great movie!
Incredible.
The best
Amazing.
movie.
So good.
That's amazing. That's why we did it for our 1 year anniversary episode.
I saw that in theaters.
Oh, lucky
Incredible.
you. But this will be our most recent film. I thought it would be fun to go back and look at, since the man has another period piece in theaters right now. I want to go back to Robert Eggers' The Witch.
Dude.
The Vavitch.
The Vavitch.
Dude.
Yes.
The Vavitch. I
The
just
Vavitch.
wrote a
It's
joke
unbelievable.
about Black Phillip the other day. I'm
Oh, did
excited
you?
to watch it.
Unbelievable.
I'm
I
excited.
almost picked. I'll show you the my notes. It was either Boiler Room or The Witch last time I had to pick.
No shit.
My mind is blown. I'm so excited.
That's so funny. Well, we're doing The Witch.
Yeah, I'm fucking stoked.
I'm
It's gonna be an
excited.
awesome
I'm excited
show.
to watch it, guys.
I'm excited to watch it again too. I think I'll probably try and catch The Northman in theaters this
That'd be
week
awesome.
too, if I can. If I can, no promises, folks.
Oh man. Well, man, AJ, that was awesome, dude. Thanks for bringing your insight and
Thank
letting
you.
us get to know a little bit about more about you. So let us know where we can see you online and all that fun stuff.
Well, you can follow me at AJ DiCosimo on Twitter. Like I said, I'm not a regular, but I am a New Yorker contributor. You can read my stuff with the New Yorker. I wrote for Mad Magazine for a while. You can
cool.
find my stuff there, and look for me on MovieWeb. I have
Sweet.
2 pieces coming out relatively soon. One is the best performances by actors who weren't actually actors.
That sounds awesome.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I hope you looked at Joe for that.
yeah. And the other one is why Sideways deserves another look.
Oh, dude.
Nice. All right. Awesome. Yeah, and also again, AJ's pretty active on Twitter, so follow him there. If you're still using Twitter, some of us kind of lately feel like it's got a stink on it. I don't know why.
I don't know. I'm trying to raise $45 billion. So
I hope you can, my friend.
yeah,
we will definitely have you back, AJ. Thanks you again
man.
so much.
I'm really
for
excited.
coming
Hit
on.
me up anytime.
Awesome, man. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. 76 trombones in the big parade. That's all I have to say about that. Take care, folks.
Peace.